Felix and Tony. Come on, show Adam. Felix and Tony. Come on, show Adam. They're the right reason for a new season. Together we rise.
Half a day and welcome back to another episode of On the Trail with Felix and Tony. I'm Felix Camacho, candidate for governor in this upcoming 2022 election on November 8th. We've got only a few more days to go. Mm-hmm. And with me every week and every moment on the trail is my running mate, Senator Tony Ada. Sir.
Half a day.
Half a day.
I love the hat. There you go. Glory days, not gloomy days.
One of my favorite hats. I mean, what can I say?
Oh, so where did you get it at?
Well, there's a guy named Dr. Manuel Johnson, and this is his theme. And I just feel that, hey, if there's anything, this hat is, the words are anointed, you know. So
it's great.
Yeah, glory days.
That's what we have to, that's what we always have to look for. It is the glory days.
Absolutely. That's what the people of Guam are looking for.
So this week on the trail, a lot of things have happened over the past week, and it's just great. What we've just had a tremendous week this past week. So we had the red hat canvassing in Dedido. At the same time, imagine that our team was working the early voting down at GCC. So we had a group down there at GCC, and we had a group that was canvassing up in Dedido. Then we had the action pack interview on Tuesday. How did you like that? That was with Phil Letty.
I thought it was really good. You know, the fact that you've got a political action committee that was interested in speaking not only to us but to our opponents and giving a fair equal level playing ground to speak about the issues, and hopefully people could listen to that and make comparisons and decide who would you want to lead over the next 4 years.
Right, and then early Wednesday morning we drove down to Malolo, and we were down there at 6:15 in the morning to greet the villagers of Malolo in Arahan and welcome them to, a good sunshine morning. That was quite early.
Well, if anything, I enjoyed the ride down there, and the weather, the clear skies, the hospitality of the people down in Arahan and Malolo was incredible. Wonderful empanada. Thank you, Dan, for bringing that to us. That really woke us up. But the honks, the waves, and again, just it always brings me home. My mom and my grandmother, then Margarita and Duenas from Inarahan, so brings us back to our roots. And thank you again to the people of the Inarahan. And then we went to the other side, if you will, right?
That's right. We went to Meleso that evening, and greeting the folks as they came back home that evening. It started to rain, so what did we do? We went to go visit some residents down in Malolo and Meleso. Let's say it right. It's Meleso.
Right.
So, it was just such a fantastic evening, being down there at the beach side. And wow, that was such a great time.
What was special to me is the fact that we had met with Manamko, and these individuals go back to my father's time, back into the 70s, and the stories that they shared about the political events, 50 plus years ago, in the 1970 election, and even in the 1974 election, when my father was running for re-election as governor. And the stories they shared, especially, I liked one gentleman who talked about the fact that he says, I killed a cow for your father, and we really had a feast. Can you imagine that? It was absolutely terrific.
But, I guess that's the campaign way back in the 70s, right?
Yeah.
They went all out for campaigns, and, how much has changed where it was door-to-door canvassing. It was pocket meetings. I mean, now, it's social media and newspaper prints, TV ads and things like that. So, how time has evolved, and campaigning has really, campaign strategies has really changed throughout the years.
True. But don't you think that the most memorable events for us during the campaign are meeting the people at their place of work or on the streets and wherever they may be, that we run across them and just having that conversation and getting to meet them, know who they are personally, their life story, what's going on. To me, those are the ones that really matter most to me. whether they agree or not with us, or say they're going to vote for us. Just the mere fact that we can have a conversation with them. The way God made us is we're relational. We are relational relationships, and as social beings. It's just part of our DNA, and so I love it.
Yeah, and getting together after several years of not being able to social gather and things like that, it made it even more special this election season.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And I have to say, man, I just love to see you every day too. Just being able to get with you and start the day off with a good joke and a nice laugh, and then we go on. It's a roll.
Laughing is always healthy, right? And I think that's the greatest part of life is there's everything that you can control just about everything in life, right? What you're going to do, how you plan things out, what you don't want to do.
Yeah.
But there's this one particular thing you cannot control, and that's waking up. So once you wake up, that's the blessing. All the blessing starts then.
Yeah.
And everything else now you can put into perspective and plan your day out. So that's why, you always just have to look at life and say, man, thank you, Lord, for waking me up today. And now this is what I'm going to set out to do.
Well, the first prayer out of my mouth is, this is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad.
Amen.
Amen. So let's move on, brother.
And then we had the meet and greet with the GTA employees. It was such a wonderful time meeting them again. They always invite candidates back to GTA year after year to meet and greet the candidates as they go through the election season, and sitting with them and talking with them. It really made it was that hospitality again over there that they provided, and giving us that forum to talk to their employees and that time to meet with them. Yeah, it was really great.
And they offered the opportunity to both camps.
Yes.
So it's good.
Yeah, I think the Democrats had the day before, and then we were Thursday. And then the great debate prep. Thursday evening, we went to UOG to find out what the rules and regulations and the preparations would be for the great debate that was supposed to happen November 3rd. As we all gathered into the conference room, the cohort, they were just so saddened when they had to tell us that the debate was canceled.
You could tell that even they were very timid in saying that the event is canceled due to a couple of events, and we just felt that no need to press them on, okay, what were those couple of events?
Yeah.
I believe we felt at that moment, just let it go. But what struck me most was the fact that they were deflated. They were saddened. They were really depressed, I think, about the fact that this had to happen. Remember, the great debate happens once every 4 years in a gubernatorial election. And in talking to one former student that was very much involved in the master's program that typically cohorts and sponsors this event, is pointed out that, we lost a lot of money on this. So, what do you mean? He says, well, the proceeds that we make from the ticket sales and the concession stands that are there, and of course, whatever else may come with it, there could be some advertisement fees and the like, but so the monies that are garnered from this are very much pay for many of the programs that they would have and for their organization. On our side alone, it was $7,500 worth of tickets that we had paid for, and they had to return that check. You imagine the other side. So we're talking minimum $15,000 alone just on ticket sales that the student body and this master's program had to forego with the cancellation of it. But beyond the financial part of it is really the fact that they had put a lot of time and effort and planning into it, and then it was canceled. Again, as I said, never could I imagine that this would happen. So the snub, again, against the students and what had been planned for was there.
Yeah, I mean, they worked tirelessly for months. I mean, the prepping, the planning started since March of this year, and all the months that have gone by, they're putting things into place, and getting the necessary what they call it, resources that they needed to have, the tickets that they printed. I mean, it's just, it was a sad moment for them and us as well. And, I think we left all options on the table for them to consider.
Yes, we asked for, would you be willing to do a town hall, even if the two camps wouldn't come together and in a debate type setting or a forum, but let each camp come separately and answer questions that you would like to pose. But I believe they were just so deflated, and the wind was taken out of their sails. They're like, no. It just felt that, I don't know where the pressure came from, but it didn't feel right for them. And even in my mind, was it really their call? That's what I was wondering, but we'll leave that at that.
Yeah. So we'll just move on, and we starting off now with clearing the record. And the first item on clearing the record is the PDN article about the hospital and the build to build it. So, I got an email from Steve Limtiaco from the Pacific Daily News, and it should be going up on the screen, the bill. He goes, good morning, Senator Ad. I have a question about the new hospital and medical complex. Last year, you voted for the bill which authorizes the governor to acquire the $1 billion project. But during one of your campaign podcasts last month, you questioned whether the people of Guam can afford to pay for it. Why did you vote for it if you think the people of Guam can't afford it? Thank you. And, it was not a matter that the headline article on PDN was, I believe it was Adelup changes his mind, right? And, it wasn't me changing my mind on the bill because I support the bill. It's the governor changed the project. So when you look at what the bill entails,
You want the bill? Or
yeah, can we put the bill up on the screen? Go downward. Keep going down. That's just the letter, and you gotta.
Oh no, I think this is a different bill. Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh,
This is the bill.
Yeah. You can get the correct bill up there.
This one, right?
Yes. Okay. So you can go ahead and scroll down. Got to change our producer. So what the bill calls for, you go ahead, keep scrolling down. So when you look at the bill, the cost that was placed into the bill was over $700 million, about $700 million, and then it also calls for the $300 million would come from the ARP funding, and currently I think ARP only has about $170 that's reserved for the hospital. Yeah, there you go. So it goes $300 million from the American Rescue Plan to construct the new hospital. And then when you go down, it says facility would cost an estimated $743 million. So that's nowhere close to $1 billion. And then when you keep going further down, and you said tax credits to be reimbursed to Guam at an estimated $60 million annually, of which an estimated no more than $35 million would be allocated for the payments of the leaseback agreement annually. So where that was coming from is the earned income tax credit. However, that is no longer available on the table, that $35 million for EITC for the hospital. And last but not least, when you look at where it's going to be built, it says there that the hospital has to be built on property that is already in GovGuam in GovGuam inventory. So you can keep going down.
Yeah.
Slow down. I think you have to go back up there.
Back up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right there. The lease of the government. Property holdings.
So the lease of GovGuam property would be to the contractor developer. So it has to be already GovGuam property, and Eagles Field is not GovGuam property. And I just want to make sure that there's complete understanding of the two differences. Public Law 3656, right?
36. Yes.
3656 is what I co-sponsored and voted for. And the governor's project is totally different from what 3656 calls for. So the two are not even the same, one of the same. And, I hope that, in the future, that when they look at publishing an article, that they would look at the bill as it is and what the current project that they're looking at Eaglesfield entails. And then, how they always say the details are in, yeah, but we didn't want to say that. We just say, in the details. Look at the details.
Bubbles in the details.
Yeah, there you go. The bubbles are in the details. But no, with that said, I just want to make it absolutely clear. Do I support building a new facility within the parameters of Public Law 3656 that we in the legislature voted for and approved and passed and the governor signed into law, and not the project that the governor is calling for at Eagles Field, which is going to be over $1 billion. So, clear the record.
Clear the record.
Clear.
Clear.
Yeah.
I like
Get a
that.
sound effect for that, right?
Yeah.
Well, I know that also our opposition had run an article about saying under Felix's administration, there was a 6% business privilege tax under your administration. And I do want to recall a letter of transmission from myself and Lieutenant Governor Kaleo Moynihan back in the day. And again, as it reads, it is, again, an act to roll back effective April
There you
1st,
go.
2004.
This is the letter?
Yeah, the temporary increase of the gross receipts and use tax rates. And it was a rollback really from 6 to 4%. We talked about how for more than a year, the people had been asking the Guam legislature to reconsider its action that it had previously taken to increase the GRT from 4 to 6%. It was basically a 50% increase. And there of course was a lot of resistance from it. At that time, the late Ben Pangilinan was Speaker of the Guam legislature. The Guam Chamber of Commerce had come out very vocally and very loudly and demanding the rollback for it. And so in coordinated efforts with both the Chamber of Commerce, the business community, and the people of Guam, we had submitted the letter and transmitted the bill number 267, and it was eventually passed. And so I just want to clear the record again. In fact, I believe it had cost the speaker his election, that coming election in later on. It had cost him his election, I believe, in 2006. So it was, again, a matter of clearing the record that we had fought to roll it back from 6 to 4%. So again, just fact checking and clearing the record that we did effectively roll it back. And it's certainly something we are going to look at again, coming in as an administration, to roll back from the business privilege tax, as it's referred to now, from 5 to 4%.
I do recall that when the business privilege tax was increased from 4 to 5%, that it was a temporary increase because of the Trump tax cuts that would be able to assist the local coffers, our local government, in keeping the revenues at a certain level. That was supposed to be sunsetted after a certain time. That the governor said it's going to keep the BPT at 5% forever.
Yes.
And true to her word, she kept it at 5% from the time she came in to this very day.
Have there not been attempts by the Republican minority to introduce legislation and effectively roll it back? However, the attempts, from what I understand, have been unsuccessful, as the Democratic majority would not allow that to happen.
Right.
Okay.
So many attempts have been made to try and roll it back. So hopefully that, we'll be able to get in there and start the process and rolling back the BPT.
Okay.
Okay. Well, last on clearing the record, glad we cleared that one up. So the last one now is there was an article or an interview that you did with Nestor Lacanto. I think you did 2 interviews with him, right? One was at the the driving range.
Oh yeah, hitting a bucket of golf balls.
Yeah, and then the other one was down at our camping headquarters.
Yeah.
And I think the issue there was about GRMC and the headline. Do you have the headlines, Mr. Producer?
This one?
There you go. That's the headline.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me pop it up real quick. All right. One PDN.
Okay. And that's from PDN again. So,
Yeah, and so it says that they can coexist. That's certainly the situation right now. But I believe that we need to consider all options. Not that GRMC is for sale, but the concept of the government of Guam looking at other facilities is very apparent. The current Guam Memorial Hospital Authority facility was at one time the Catholic Medical Center, privately owned by the Archdiocese of Agana. And I believe with some federal funding and assistance, as the existing GMH at that time, which was at Oka Point, actually it was right across my house, where I grew up as a kid. I grew up there in Pearsville, Tamuning in Oka. And my mom, in fact, was a medical laboratory technician, and I recall riding our bicycles there to check on mom once in a while she worked in the lab. It was a short bike ride away. But with the destruction of Typhoon Karen and eventual failings, I guess, of the structure, it eventually the government of Guam closed that down and then bought the Catholic Medical Center. So it's not far-fetched, because it already happened with the existing facility, which was at one time the Catholic Medical Center.
yeah. I think it was called, right, MCM, Medical Center of the Marianas.
Yeah. Owned by the Archdiocese of Agana.
Owned by the Archdiocese. Yeah, man, I remember that name.
And so, we, as far as where and what to do, I believe that the focus has to be on, I know the current governor is looking at a long-term massive facility, one facility to be inclusive of not only the hospital but other services in one site and location up in Eagle Field in Manilao. I know that there's been a lot of pushback and resistance from the medical community. There's been a lot of pushback from the original landowners who say, Governor, even though you are proposing a land bank, that the government of Guam would purchase the land from and basically pay the landowners for it. This is certainly, their argument is, first of all, why would the government pay when it was the federal government that took it and ought to adequately compensate it? But the main point that they were talking about in the oversight hearing with the Ancestral Lands Commission was that we don't want the money. We want our land back. And the Manamco were saying, the only thing I have left to give my children and my grandchildren is the inheritance that should be theirs. It would be the land where they can eventually build a house and raise their families, just as we once lived there and farmed and lived off the land. And so it is a very sentimental issue, and it would be a matter of inheritance. It's not about the money to them. You can't buy that inheritance. And so there's pushback on there. The medical community has said that location is, you must consider that over the decades where GMH is and the old hospital was at Onago Point. We have built and live in close proximity. All the ancillary services are close by. And to relocate it to a very distant place up there without adequate infrastructure at this point is something that really needs to be thought about. And so we, of course, are not privy to any studies that have been commissioned by the government. Perhaps I understand under GIDA, Guam Economic Development Authority. Let's see what they have to offer. But the immediate problem is now, what are we going to do with for example, the maternity ward? It really is what's called the Maternal Child Health Service Line, otherwise known as the maternity ward, but it is inclusive of the OBGYN ward, the labor and delivery section, neonatal intensive care unit, the pediatrics intensive care unit, and the general pediatrics ward. And, in talking with individuals that that know of GRMC and their facility, can you imagine a hospital within a hospital? And what I mean is, and this again, this is all conceptual, but there have been a lot of talk. I think Dr. Shea had very adequately pointed out the shortcomings and problems, even with the toilet in the maternal ward. But I believe that the ward up at GRMC, there's about 28 beds in that facility. It's not exactly vacant, but with minor movement, it can accommodate. And so the concept would be a hospital within a hospital. And GMH could possibly lease the space and supply their own staff of from OB/GYN. GRMC would provide the wraparound services, lab, radiology, housekeeping, dietary, pharmacy, security, etc. And the idea that we have would be that if there is a need to repair GMH, again, that maternity ward, you've got to move it somewhere so that it would be functional. So why not there? So you would use the available space or accommodations that are at GRMC, move the facilities and the services there, and then begin the work within the existing GMH facility and do the proper repair. It's the same concept that we did with the schools.
That's right.
Where we moved the students from JFK. Initially, they were at GW. Then we moved them into Tizen.
That's right.
Built JFK. Once it was done, we moved them in. We took then Untalan Middle School and moved the students there while they were doing the upgrade and repair facility there in Baragana. Eventually, of course, it was turned over into the Guam. They've got the Guahan Trades Academy, or rather the charter school.
Right.
And then, of course, Tizen High is up there now.
Yeah. And that's the type of concept that is, thinking outside the box of actually building or renovating and repairing the maternity ward at Guam Memorial Hospital while still keeping the services going for our people over at GRMC with our GMH staff and,
So, to use their phrase, coexist, absolutely. A hospital within a hospital.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. And
these are just some of the thoughts and outside the box thinking that we have and must consider.
Yeah. And we will always consider anytime someone brings up an idea or a thought that, because, like you said, right, we don't always have all the ideas, and this is how we can come together to ensure that things for our community and our island can be better explored when we have the people who are the experts in those fields that can come to us and, talk with us, and, we get the word out and we continue to move forward.
Yeah.
And it's just something that where all these things have been, falling out into GMH, where we have now these articles that are coming out on what's going on with the collections, the billing collections at Guam Memorial Hospital. I mean, you've seen it floating around in social media. You see it. I mean, even on my WhatsApp, I get so many WhatsApp that it's just constantly coming in. What's going on? What's going on with the hospital? Collections are going really. So many people are involved with this collection problem, I guess, that they're having up there.
Yes. Certainly we don't want to delve into what we all call conspiracy theories this close to an election. But the word is out there about a lot of concern of what's going on and the amount of monies that are being paid out for, again, GMH, which has always been financially struggling.
Yeah. Okay, we'll move on. And the topic of the day today is the get out the vote. We were supposed to have Annette and Joanne join us today, but and Mr. Producer sent me a note. He goes, I'm gonna tear that up. I'm gonna tear that one up.
Because you know.
Today was an exciting day for us.
Yeah.
we had actually three things going on. And I think everyone was able to really be at different places all at the same time. We had our people down in Malesa for the satellite voting. We had our people up in Jigo canvassing, and we had our people at Tumuning getting our site ready for our rally.
Yeah, I understand it's a really special day tomorrow.
Yes.
We got the rally going on, right?
Yes.
Yes. Why don't you talk about that?
So it's going to be a very exciting day tomorrow. We're going to start out. Each village leader actually is going to coordinate their own motorcades to our rally. And that's so that we don't have to inconvenience the public with this one large motorcade of 200-300 vehicles. What we want to do is be able to have smaller motorcades to our rally point so that traffic is not congested, traffic is not stopped. We want the traffic to continue to go on. We want people to continue their movement and not obstruct traffic. So each village leader is in charge of their own motorcades, and we're just going to have them come over to our rally site at the former Guam Greyhound, and we'll be having our rally at 4 p.m. It's going to be a great time. They're going to have in the parking lot at the Guam Greyhound, and it's going to be a really, really fantastic time. It's just the lineup is just really great. You didn't get to see it, so I got to see what the lineup was.
I didn't get to see the lineup, but I'm gonna take this opportunity now to just announce, hey, it also happens to be my birthday. It is a glorious day.
All right.
Yeah, I'm turning. It's going to be the big 6'5" for me, and what better way to celebrate? First of all, just another year that I've been blessed by the Lord to be alive and blessed with a good family, and really an opportunity to be a candidate in this election with you, and to celebrate with people that have just given their hearts in this election. I'm telling you. Having been through many elections, I can think back to the day when my father ran and there I was as a middle school sixth grader, involved back in the 70 and 74 election, and then of course running with Joetta and all. But there's really something different here. Although they say you've got social media now and things have changed. Yeah, they definitely have. But I guess just having been through this so many times now, you can really truly appreciate those that give their heart and soul. And this is on a volunteer basis. We are not an incumbent administration with people on a paid staff. The people that are there helping us are doing it out of their own free will.
Blood, sweat, and tears.
Their blood, sweat, and tears, and their desire to just bring about a change and bring in the glory days again.
You got to point further up.
Further up.
There you go.
How's that?
You got that.
Glory
now.
days.
Yeah, there you go.
Hey.
Glory days.
Glory days, not gloomy days. And, they're all looking with hope for this new season, a new season of restoration, a new season of prosperity, a new season of life, a new season where we no longer are going to be shackled and oppressed, but, break those chains of oppression and live our lives and work with the business community and we're going to bring life back to this island. That's what I'm excited about. A lot of hard work ahead, but
what started out with 6 people almost 9 months ago has turned out to be several hundred people now on our campaign.
Wasn't that something that we were reflecting on today as we sat trying to catch a bit of a little bit of cool air, and hydrate, as we looked at our volunteers out there waving and honking and flashing the signs down in Melesu, thinking, look at these, they're out here on their own time as volunteers and giving of themselves. And even as we wished our people well when they began their canvassing work up in Jigo.
Yeah, you were very emotional and you almost choked. And
I did.
Yeah,
I mean,
and I think that's what people like, is that they see the human factor of us, right? The human side of us, and they know that we appreciate them.
Absolutely. Yeah. And again, a big shout out and thank you to all. And finally, really to all our listeners. By the time you get this podcast, There's a few days. We're going into the final weekend and then Election Day on November 8th. And we just really need to ask you, participate, get involved, get out there and vote and make a difference.
Vote Camacho Ada.
Vote Camacho
He
Ada.
forgot to say that. So vote Camacho Ada.
Biba.
Viva. So on the trail next week, we have what would have been the great debate. Once again,
Yeah.
November 3rd is no longer going to be. And yeah, it's unfortunate
Is there a
again.
chance for it to come back? I mean,
You know,
start it up again?
I didn't ask the producer to converse with us. I was looking at you, and then he just comes and pops in and he converses with us. Like,
But the question was, will there be an opportunity maybe 4 years from now, or did Lou and Josh officially seal,
Between now and then?
seal it?
we left
will no longer
options.
happen?
We left options on the table.
But again, I just saw that they were so deflated and so
Yeah.
defeated that the win was just taken out of their sails.
The students?
Yeah,
The students. They were so dejected. I mean, they were so timid and I truly felt for them because you could just sense
All that hard work.
they were just so frustrated. All the hard work they put into it, and then
Sorry, I don't mean to talk.
having to no, but it
Is this
was
something that
please.
they spend like the whole year doing?
They spent since I believe what they started it since March. So the preparations that they needed to do and the resources they needed and coordinating for lighting, for recording, for airing it, everything that needed to be done to put the great debate show on
Yeah.
was just all for naught. It just went down the drain, and it's unfortunate because they truly worked so hard for it, and they put everything they had into it, and
Yeah.
to see it not come to fruition is
I'll tell you, having been a participant in it, when I was a candidate running for lieutenant governor with Joseph Ada in the 1998 election, there we were against Carl and Madeline. When I ran with Kaleo Moylan facing Robert Underwood and Senator Tom Ada, there we were. And then again in the 2006 election, when I ran with Dr. Michael Cruz against, this time it was Robert Underwood and Frank Ogden Jr., the good senator. There it was, and it was always something that everyone looked forward to. The voters, the students especially. And it
the
was
supporters.
yeah. If there was any event, if there was any debate to have for a gubernatorial election, it was that.
Yeah.
That was the signature event when it came to forums or debates in any gubernatorial election. And but our opponents chose not to come. It was the great snub of 2022, the great snub against the students of the University of Guam and their graduate program. Unfortunate, but so I don't think there's any other opportunity now with that organization moving forward with a few days left to go. It would totally be unfair to them in the area and requirement of preparation and the like. So we just move on to the election and remember. I think people need to remember what happened in this event. There have been other events in other elections that have happened. But I think right now, going into the final week, the people of Guam will not only forget what happened during the pandemic and the COVID-19 and the restrictions and the executive orders and the shutdown and our lives being totally disrupted and the division within the community, but they're also going to think about, what happened with this debate. And there's so many other things circulating that we didn't want to get into, but never forget never forget and get out there and vote.
Vote Camacho Ada.
Viva.
I had to put that in there again because you keep saying get out the vote. So Camacho Ada.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. I got to help you out here. You can help me out sometimes. It rolls. It
You
rolls.
can count on that.
Definitely.
All right.
Okay, your vote matters. 10 days and a wake up till general election. Early voting began on October 11th and it will end on November 3rd and it's currently happening at the Westin. Again, you can ask your questions through social media. at Camacho Ada for Guam. Engage with us on the trail by asking us questions through any of our social media platforms, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Your questions can be sent to us again in text. We still haven't gotten an audio or video. Looking forward to the audio and video. We look forward to engaging with you in the digital space and answering your questions on the show. Thank you so much for joining us on the trail. It's been an exciting time for both us, Felix and I, and our Camacho Ada familia in these past several months. Thank you to our producer, Boo, and assistant producer, Layla, for all that they've done for us and keeping us, writing our scripts for us, and we don't go by the script. And they say, do you follow the script? And we don't follow the script. We
go off the script.
Go off the script. And I think that's, that's all organic. And it just goes to show the thought philosophy, the thought process that we have, how we really are connected in seeing what ideas and how we get through these times and what we think about and how we want to proceed forward.
A lot of it, though, is truly a reflection of the comments and opinions of our people on Guam, and as we come across and converse with them and develop and establish relationships with them, this is a reflection of them and their thought process and what they are truly concerned about. Yeah. So
and it always keeps us smiling. It keeps us it keeps us energetic. And they always ask, how is it that you have so much energy? It says we there's no time not to have energy.
Yeah.
We got to keep going. Yeah. We got to keep moving, and eventually we'll get there. So,
so thank you.
You can close this out now.
Yes, and perhaps we're going to have another. We've got the final weekend coming up before November 8th, and we intend to come back with perhaps one final episode. But I think this whole concept of this podcast shouldn't end with this election.
Really? I think you're getting used to this.
I think we're having too much fun, and but here's the interesting thing is I have been approached by so many people that say, I have this topic that I would love to talk about, and could I come on your podcast? And I'm thinking, why not? We are going to have a list of characters that we can bring in, but, not just political pundits, but people, I believe, from walks of life that have issues of interest to the people of Guam, and perhaps this could be a forum for them to come and begin to bring it to light.
Yes.
Because they don't have fair play or even access with media. The established legacy media on Guam, whether it's print or radio, and the talk show host. We've got some good ones out there like Ray Gibson.
Yeah.
And we've certainly got Bob Klitsky and a few others out there, but I think this podcast with Tony Ada, my goodness, they're looking forward to it. And, you can throw me in there if you want. I mean, why not? But
I don't know if you noticed that every time it's Felix and Tony, Camacho Ada. It's not Tony.
Oh.
You get it?
Okay.
Felix and Tony.
Okay, yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
But, the podcast, though, is also listened to by so many of our followers and so many people that want to know or get to know us. And I think today, if you can tell that story of what Fran was mentioning to you of someone that she was speaking to about supporting Camacho Ada.
Yeah, not to mention names, but there's a certain individual from Aniguec that was talking to her, and Fran was saying, why. What are you thinking about? She says, I'm really leaning, I'm undecided, but I'm leaning towards Felix and Tony. And she says, is it because of what I've been, explaining to you about what they represent and their platform? She says, no, I'm really, it's their podcast. And I just like the way that they are able to engage, and I have to say, she says, I think, Tony, you've done a good job now. But the mere fact that she said it's the podcast that I like the dialogue between them. They obviously get along like brothers.
Yeah.
And we can understand where they're coming from. Yeah, it's not scripted. It's not. And she says it's because of that I'm listening. And I think I'm going to give them their vote. My vote, she said.
Yeah. And we truly appreciate that. And
Yeah.
we look forward for you to casting your vote for Camacho Ara. With that, sir, you can wrap up the show.
Well, again, with that, you have a great weekend. We look forward to those of you joining us tomorrow at the rally, and please come help me celebrate my 65th birthday. But more than anything, we've got some great food, some entertainment, and just come out and be part of our familia. You know, there's a lot at stake here, the leadership of Guam over the next 4 years. And again, we're going to bring up here glory days and end the gloomy days. Sduz Masi from Felix and
Tony!
Adios.
Felix and Tony.